Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's NBA Sharp Betting Breakdown here on the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast. I am your host, Michael Fiddle. Today is Monday, March 17th, and on today's episode, we have a 10-game NBA slate to work through every side and total on today's card and come away with a green bankroll on St. Patrick's Day. Before we get started, I have a little bit of complaining to do, and normally, it's actually pretty rare that we complain. But in the few times that we do, it's like an occasional bad beat or an occasional something that you just want to get off your chest. The last time we did this was when Tyrese Halliburton hit a 4-point game winner over Giannis with the dumbest foul in the world and lost a bet for us on the Milwaukee Bucks. Today, I actually want to talk about injury reporting stuff. I came onto the show maybe last week, maybe a week and a half ago at this point, and said, let's change the mindset of injury reporting, and instead of complaining about it, actually go 10 toes down, start researching it, because we're at the time of the year where that might be the most critical part of your handicapping. So follow the beat writers, and I posted the full list of every single beat writer with all of their profiles completely clickable. I talked about watching coaches' interviews and being aware what the coaches are saying pre and post game, especially on back-to-back spots, being tuned into the schedule, watching games and seeing if you see either an overtime spot, because that might incur some rest. If you see an injury, check for a back-to-back. We went over so many strategies of how to handle March wonkiness with injuries, rest spots, and so much else. It has been completely meaningless to execute any of those strategies, and the results of the injury reporting right now in the NBA are absolute bullshit. Let's go back to that Tyrese Halliburton situation. That came after a string of games where he was listed with a groin injury, then decided to play through the groin injury for 3 games, still gets listed with the groin injury, and then all of a sudden misses a bunch of games consecutively. And every single time, the betting market has no idea that it's coming, and there's major waves of reactions. Normally, you can kind of see it in the line movement which way this is going. Oh, look at that Denver, Minnesota under last week starts steaming down. Well, when Rudy Gobert was in, the line didn't change. But when Halliburton went out, 7 points of movement to the total, 3.5 points of movement to the spread against the Hawks last week, twice. Giannis was deemed in the starting lineup and removed twice. Zion was a personal scratch on the day of the game after hours of Pelicans taking a ton of action. There are countless examples of this. It is driving me off the wall. We are talking about Jaren Jackson Jr. suffering a 6-week injury, all of a sudden being listed as questionable 2 weeks later and playing right away. We have Domas Sabonis suffering a soft tissue injury, re-aggravating it, still playing the next day, re-aggravating it again. Everyone freaking out that this Sabonis injury has been handled horribly. And today he's not even on the injury report. Like, what the fuck is going on? It almost feels as if teams, now every team in the league being investigated, from the Hawks have been fined this year, the Jazz have been fined this year, and currently you have the top of the league, the Oklahoma City Thunder, being investigated, and the bottom of the league, the Philadelphia 76ers, being investigated for the player participation policy. Like, what is going on? It is impossible. So when we do this show in the mornings, so many of these games, honestly, probably this week, next week, are going to hinge on injury reports. It's going to be so hard to handicap. It's almost at a time now where I'm like, let's wait for the later market, wait till we know more information, and try and play it from that angle. Because I'm done getting wrapped up in nonsense that seemingly is all fake bullshit. I will bring in professional poker player Drew Johnson. You could follow him on Twitter at Ranting Johnson, but if you show up to the Advantage, you might get an at Ranting Fiddle. Can I get an agreement, disagreement? Can I get some just like, will you just support my emotional state right now and that this is ridiculous?
Yeah, it is ridiculous. We saw in the NFL season this year how really, really adamant they were about accurately reporting injuries as best they could. Now, obviously, if a guy's a game time decision, it's going to be a little tougher, right? Because there are the occasional injury that, if it feels good, you go, right? And having to wait for those spots is always tough, but usually you can see those spots coming a bit at least, right? Like 2 hours prior to the game, if a guy's a game time decision, they'll at least announce that. And recently in the NBA, you're getting that announcement 66% of the time, maybe. So it just becomes very, very difficult to do anything in the betting market. And with the rate at which this league is promoting betting, it's pretty hard for them to be like, hey, fans, lean into this. Well, we're also just destroying your bankrolls by telling you nothing when it comes to injury reporting. And on top of this, guys are getting reported
I
as
think you're about to
go.
take the point that I was about to go into. Go ahead.
They're just not playing them.
They just get benched at halftime, right? You're talking
Or
the
not
Pirtles
even
and the marketing did not get hurt in
no.
the last game apparently and was benched coming out of halftime.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? Pirtle played 17 minutes and I don't think played in the second half at all because why? For no reason. Nothing reported.
Nothing.
So the newest thing is, we're going to have to skirt player participation by letting them play half of their allotted minutes in tonight's game. It's what is going on? This is like Kawhi Leonard is everywhere in the NBA. Every player has just become a cloud of Kawhi. Peasy says, books are scamming us bettors along with the organizations. No. Because the books have no idea what's hitting them either. They're having to react as extreme as us as well. It's these teams. I actually think it's teams and organizations more so than the players. I think the teams and the organizations are trying to figure out how do we finagle, how do we walk the tightrope between not getting fined, not wanting to win, not wanting to play these players, and just not being too obvious. And it's happening everywhere in the league. And the motivation for these teams is so unknown that it's just like, well, what the fuck? Like, I actually at the point, Drew, where it's not just like sometimes with the injury stuff, I go even one step further of just like, but I'm such an NBA fan. I enjoy watching Jacoby Walters. I'm okay watching Io DeSumnu on the Bulls if Kobe White and Lonzo are gonna miss. I'm okay with that. But when teams outwardly don't want to win and are doing things at halftime to completely change things, or the Raptors in close games are pulling all their starters with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and it's just like they're not seeing the floor again. If you're like, I have zero interest in watching a product where people don't actually care to win and the teams are outwardly trying to lose, and it's blatantly obvious. Like, why am I wasting my own time watching this for enjoyment if the goal of it is to do the exact opposite of what you set out to do?
Have you listened to Simmons and Russillo from Sunday night yet? Did you get into that before you went to bed last night?
No.
They made the argument that this stretch right here is why we need less games in a year. And I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I get it from a fan perspective, but we're gamblers. We need this volume.
I agree
want
with
more
you.
Games. I hate when people talk about shortening the schedule because that's opportunity cost for us.
Is it though? If the opportunities we're getting are like this?
Yes, because you have to think of when the opportunities create a muck like this. There's also so many other 3 games in 4 nights, 2 games in 3 nights with back-to-back road travel situations. Like, we pick off schedule spots in so many parts of the season that are afforded to us because there are this many games. And I don't even know if that's the answer. So Drew, let's do a little homework assignment for this week.
Sure.
On the Friday show, as we always do a Friday show and then try to just get into some off-topic NBA tangent conversation. Sometimes it's gambling strategy, sometimes it's NBA related, whatever. We just try and get a little loose on a Friday after we've gone over every game. Let's try and each come to the table with some sort of resolution. How do we stop the tanking? How do we deal with the injury reporting? What is some realistic situation that works, with one caveat rule as we address this, Drew? You have to keep the number of games being played, because I don't think that's
82.
realistically being changed, because the owners are not going to agree with this. The players probably don't even agree to it because of how much it impacts their profit sharing and how much it affects their salary cap. So 82 games. And secondly, you have to have the 3 play-in games. So you can't rework something that removes the play-in tournament, because the play-in tournament has been so successful and it's so competitive and it's such a money and revenue generator for the league that they're also not scrapping that. So let's keep the format, but let's try and change the draft, or try and change the way that the rankings are considered at the end of the league, or the cutoff times, or however you want to do it. Let's try and come to the table on Friday with some semblance of a solution for tanking. Now, is there a perfect strategy? No, but we do need to work to find something, because it's been pretty bad. All right, let's share the FanDuel odds screen.
Can I add one more point?
Please do, because I need to share. I need to get the time ready to share the screen.
I can tell you, this season I have watched more NBA than I have watched ever, probably.
Me too.
3 weeks ago, I was watching at least the fourth quarter of 4 to 5 games, and typically I would just be watching basketball from approximately 8 p.m. Eastern, just after dinner, second quarters of the early games, first halves of the early games just ending, and then watch till 1 in the morning when the last late game ends. And I can tell you, over the past week, I have seen a steady decline in my watch time of the NBA, because it just sucks. The product on the floor is kind of shit for most of these games at this point. Not most, but at least half. And it's just like, I was really enjoying that stretch of time almost every day from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m., watching the games, capping for tomorrow, getting into it. And it's taking the joy out of it a bit. And I'm really, really disconcerted with that.
I agree. My watch time this weekend, definitely the lowest of my entire season in the NBA. All right,
Yeah, me too.
break down this 10-game slate. We have the odds shown right here at FanDuel, but of course, we only show that because it matches our beautiful blue studio background, and we will point out the best odds available, the best prices, where our bets have gotten down on it, where we think is still playable, how these markets are moved, and where these numbers may end up. That is what we do every day here on the show, 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. If you could please drop a like on the video as we work through this card, that would be fantastic. And when we mention a play and something that was released, we are talking about in our WHOP chat. You could find that link in the video description here on YouTube, in my Twitter bio, or in the podcast description if you are listening later on the audio feed. It is $100 a month to come get all of the picks as a text message and alert sent to your phone. However, if we ever have a losing month, we will credit the entire group in a free month, so we will not charge for losing picks. And if you leave us a review on the store page, you will get $50 back immediately. All right, the Miami Heat take on the New York Knicks in the Garden in MSG. We have a total here at 210.5, a spread at 7.5 on the Knicks side. We have seen steady amounts of under movement in this game. That has been the real side that's taken any steam. The Knicks line was 7.5 at a lot of places at the open. So it was 6.5 here at FanDuel. So you've seen FanDuel take a little bit of Knicks steam, but pretty much just catch up to consensus across the board. The opening total was 214 at DraftKings, 213 pretty much everywhere else, opening a little bit lower, 211.5 here at FanDuel, opening the lowest. And we're seeing them all come down now, 210.5, seemingly being the consensus across the board for these odds on the total. Why would that be? And I think in this case, it's pretty obvious, Drew. Like, you look at the market and maybe you saw we were together. Let's say this from the top. Me and you were together on a studio call yesterday afternoon as lines were opening. And I believe one of the first things that I said to you before any other lines opened, besides that 214 Heat Knicks, was under 214 Heat Knicks.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, maybe. Let's see where that goes. But yeah, maybe. It's sometimes as easy as saying to yourself, no Brunson. The Heat have Bam Adebayo to throw on the Knicks' best scoring option in Karl Anthony Towns. And the Knicks have OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and different looks to throw at Tyler Hero. So they each have the perfect defender to stop the best offensive piece on the opposing team. So then you start to see the other 213s open up, and it's like, yep, this is probably going to be an under spot. You play it towards the under. We get nice 3.5, 4 points of movement at some places. Strong Heat Knicks under spot, but probably priced out now is where I'm looking. And I'm thinking maybe, if anything, you go Heat ATS on what might be a low scoring game. But this one at this point, it feels kind of gross.
I do like the Heat against the spread. I don't know if I want to play it beyond this 7.5 number. We did see it come down from 8.5. I do think the Heat are better than we've seen over the course of the last few games. We did see them have a good game in their last one, finally. I'm worried about the Heat, though. Nobody can really figure out if they're tanking or not, right? They should be tanking is kind of the overall, I would say, consensus, but it definitely isn't. But the overall sentiment says they should be. I don't know if they are yet. I feel like a play-in berth for them could get them into a position where they do make a little bit of noise in the playoffs, and that might help them in the free agency market, the trade market going forward, where guys are like, oh, okay, this team is actually in a position where if I join them, that might push them over the top. I'm talking about a guy like Devin Booker or Kevin Durant. Those are the two that are going to be available. I don't think you go after Booker if you're Miami, unless you're trading Hero, which I don't think you want to do. So, with that said, it's still definitely a Miami spot over the Knicks spot, right? At home, Knicks just don't seem to have the same offensive execution without Brunson in the lineup. They also don't have the same pace, and I think, like you said, with the total coming down, that makes this more of an against the spread play.
Yeah, I mean, you're following, there's 209.5, so you're following 4 to 5 points of steam if you're still betting and under. I will say the spread, you can get the 8 at Bet Rivers right now. So if you could find an 8 on Miami Heat, I would say that's the best way to play this ATS. You can consider the plus 7.5, but there are some sharp books, like Circa still has it at 8. I believe that's the last one. The 7.5s are just expensive elsewhere. But wait on a plus 8 unless you can get that at Bet Rivers or Circa. Otherwise, wait on a 7.5 because you could always come back and strike that later. But
I think you're
right.
Right
nothing on that current spot. Let's go down to Pacers and Timberwolves. We just complained about injury reporting, and here in this game, okay, we get the nice news, Drew, that Pascal Siakam is going to be missing time for personal reasons. Now, hope everything is okay with Spicy P. The Pacers are going to be without Pascal. That is okay. The line is 3.5 on the Wolves, which we sent out as a WHOP release. I even wrote This is in the wake of Pascal Siakam news being out. I really don't know how long this line will last. I will not grade it. I'm not going to send out a play on injury news that moves 3 fucking seconds later and then say, yep, got it, because that's not realistic for everyone else. But I will send it out because in some cases it sits there for 10, 15 minutes. And this one was one of them. It sat there for 15 minutes plus at Caesars with Wolves -3.5 and an over-under at 233.5. And then even DraftKings moved it to 4.5 for a little while. And Bet365 hanging at 4.5 for a little while. Now we see this all the way out to Wolves -7.5. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. So is Halliburton, or Spicy P rather, actually worth 4 points? I'm going to go with no, Drew, and pull up the rest of the injury report and say, oh, how the fuck do you bet this game when you have Halliburton, Nesmith, Turner, Gobert, also all questionable with Spicy P out? So if Spicy P goes out and he's worth probably 3 points to the spread, and then you get the Halliburton, Nesmith, Turner, all questionable, adding in that extra 1 point to move it from 3.5 to 7.5. I think this comes back a little bit towards the Pacers if Halliburton, Nesmith, Turner are all ruled in as well as Gobert. So this is pricing a little bit of uncertainty on that. And I would think the total probably rises a little bit if all 3 of them are in. So at this point, despite having WHOP released Wolves and the under, the recommendation at current numbers, now 4 points different in the total. I mean, in the spread, 4.5 points different in the total. It has to be Pacers and over or nothing. Do you see it the same?
I do see it the same. And I'm wondering if we can mitigate risk here by doing something like if you want to go after this line, I don't want to necessarily release it as a WHOP pick, but with asymmetrical risk on both the total and the Pacers, can you mitigate risk by a small parlay to like win a 1 unit here by risking sort of a quarter unit or a third of a unit?
So what would you parlay together? Pacers and over?
Yes, Pacers and over.
Because I have 2 separate. So I wouldn't do it as like I wouldn't do it as a playback, right, where I can middle it.
No. I'm saying,
but I do
if
see what you're saying. Yeah, because if that news breaks in your direction, yeah, you'd probably this is absolutely one of those spots, Drew. Yes. Now I see what you're getting at. Yes.
Yeah.
Where
so if you don't have a play on
your
this
way, and you're going to get both of them to break your way, then yes, then having the multiplier would actually serve you well long term, in addition to probably playing them straight a little bit too. But yeah, it would probably serve you well long term to also have it baked in. I mean, you would need like above a plus 250-ish, plus
they won't give it to you at FanDuel, not a hope.
Yeah, like the correlation might kill you, so look around for it. I love doing that, getting the CLV in both, still getting plus 260 because you're pairing 2 games that have nothing to do with each other. You pair something that's correlated, which clearly the books are saying it, and they're almost knocking that your angle off the shelf.
Certainly at that book. Let me just have a look and see if I can get. Yeah, I can get a 264 at 365 on a plus 7.5 and a over 228.5. Interesting, right?
You want 40 seconds?
No, because I have so much on this game already based on the line movement that we.
Oh my God,
earlier.
You're right. I was with you. You're like, all right, I got 3 units. I got 4. I got 6 units now. As we're just sitting, you're just watching the other lines move, and that just speaks to how long
it was available for. Yeah,
kept it available for.
So personally, I'm not doing that, and I don't think we as the WHOP should do that. But if the people are here and want to put something on this game, have nothing on this game, that is the angle that I would suggest.
I actually
take a third.
Agree. Yeah.
Take a third of a unit and try and win a full unit on that with the injury news that comes down. Because honestly, I would expect at least a couple of these guys to be in, right? But
I think all 3.
But we can't say that,
especially with the way
we have no fucking idea anymore.
Nesmith was fucking fantastic last game against the Bucks.
Yes, he was.
Bucks up 17 late. I'm holding a Bucks -4. There's probably 4 minutes left in the game. Bucks are up 17. I'm like, all right, we're good. Giannis fouls out. Neesmith hits 2 or 3 threes in a row. Neesmith hits 2. Nembhard hits 1. Drew, we get to a point where Bucks are up 3 with 10 seconds left. And I'm sweating the cover, and Taurean Prince hits the free throws to get it to 5, and then they miss, and we get it home. But oh my God, Pacers, stop dogging me like that recently.
Yeah.
Um,
It's all the Halliburton hate. He's literally, it's karma coming back.
it is a lot of if you don't believe in the gambling gods, if you don't believe in karmic frequencies, then listen to how I speak about Tyrese Halliburton. Although I've been so respectful of him recently.
No, you have. And to be fair, I'm pretty sure season long you've definitely been on the right side of any bets involving him.
Yeah, that I've been on the right side of just my takes and personal opinion on his play too, because I'm just realistic. So. I'm now realistic about Ja Morant, and per the comments right here, Jeff B, thank you for being here. Thank you for speaking on how ass J Money voice the league is becoming. Like, yeah, I'll say it. I say true shit around these parts.
It is a tough watch right now. A lot of these games.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, that would be a great game if those guys play, though. So,
yeah.
Hopefully those guys go, and hopefully everything's fine with Spicy P personal-wise. But, okay, let's move on. The Philadelphia 76ers.
Speaking of shit games.
I heard who was it? Tim McMahon made some joke about the 76ers being like the top Sixers, because they need to be calling them this Philadelphia top Sixers, because they need to be top 6 for their draft pick not to be conveyed. So we might no longer call them the 76ers, but the top Sixers, and give a little shout out to Tim McMahon for that hilarious dad joke, NBA dad joke. You got to love some of those. So the Philadelphia top Sixers are going against the Houston Rockets in H-Town, a spread at 15.5. as Philly is on the second night of a back-to-back road spot between the Texas teams, playing the Mavericks yesterday and winning yesterday outright. A total that has gone from 219.5 to 222.5 here, Drew. You texted me shortly after we hopped off the phone, and I said to you, just text me if you see anything. And about 7 minutes later, you texted me, Houston Rockets, 76ers over 219, played for a full unit. To which I ran to the back of the board, got down on it, sent it as a release in the WHOP. So anyone who has that action can thank you for that play more so than me for sending it out. It does seem like this is definitely going to be a pace up spot for both teams. Tari Eason is back for the Rockets. I like those players that might not be overly needle movers, but will dribble the ball from a big position. Tari Eason, we say this about Santi Aldama. You could say it about Jabari, like a guy that will put the ball on the deck from a 4, who's not like your go-to point guard and your creator, is someone who's going to boost it over because of just the offensive actions that could be created quicker in the shot clock. So clear over spot, especially with Philadelphia scoring 135 yesterday and being a clear over team. Do we think the over is still playable at 222.5?
Potentially.
Drew's like, motherfucker, I gave you this at 219. Now you're asking me at 222.5?
There's 221.5 available at DraftKings, minus 108. And I think that's probably likely because they had the highest or the lowest highest total. I don't know how this works.
The lowest one that took
no, so it shouldn't be like that.
They took under money, so they had the highest total that took under money.
Or they left the high total up for too long.
Yeah,
I'm confused by this, to be honest with you. Which means, especially with the way the league's going right now, just stay away at this point.
Fair enough. You know what I think this might be? Moneyline Monday. Forgot to say it at the top of the show. My question is today just Moneyline Monday? And I did not say What's the word that I didn't say after money line, Drew?
Parlay.
I didn't fucking say money line parlay Monday. I said money line Monday, motherfuckers. Houston money line is legitimately intriguing. It's expensive, and there's a few of those.
Expensive.
But let's talk about Detroit versus New Orleans, because Drew, Detroit money line is very intriguing to me. Detroit Pistons on the road at the Pelicans. Zion missed last game for personal reasons. He's questionable for personal reasons now. Very unsure. But if you look at that injury report and you see the questionables, Zion, Yves Missi, spelled Y-V-E-S, pronounced Yves Missi, and Kelly Olynyk from Drew's Raptors to the New Orleans Pelicans. Obviously, the moment he shows up in New Orleans, he's in and out of the lineup with injuries, because that's what happens to the Shelikins. So I'm looking at those and saying those are the three bigs that they have on their roster. They don't have another big. So if Zion misses, if Yves misses, if Kelly misses, I believe they all missed last game. This is major cluster injuries to the bigs for New Orleans. Detroit is playing fantastic. We know about key numbers and the way that these lines move. And you say when a line moves from 6 to through the 7, and now it's an expensive 7, I don't really want to run and chase a spread, but if I do like the angle, I will consider playing it on the money line. Now, how do you feel about that, Drew? Is it money line Monday on the Pistons?
I don't mind it at all, to be honest with you. That 7 is a bit too much, and I would love to have a 6 again, and you can't get it without paying minus 130. I think the play is definitely what you're saying, just the standard. You haven't done it much this year, but the old school Fids 1 unit on the money line to bring home whatever you can from it. I think that's a good play, and I will tell you if you make it.
So no matter what, if you're a $100 better, if you're a $10 better, if you're a $500 unit better, if you're even more than that, the reason why I think like units is a nice terminology is because it evens the playing field for everyone. It doesn't matter how big your bankroll is. We're talking about a percent exposure of your bankroll that you're willing to do. Now, if you're a $10 better, there's almost a theory like you can't play a minus 270 if you're a $10 better. Why? Why does it fucking change? If I had a $200 bankroll and my unit was $2, and that was my 1%, then I would be laying the $2 and laying 1 unit on this line and being willing to bring home 74 cents. You have to do like the right thing. The best way to grow a bankroll is making the right decisions stacked on top of each other as many times over. It doesn't matter what the VIG is. Doesn't matter. If you believe that your expected hit rate exceeds the implied probability that you're paying for it, then that's what you should do it. And then you could invoke some like Kelly criteria on to know how much bankroll exposure that you want to do, or you just can do some flat unit betting. You don't have to, because it's 270, bet 2.7 units to win 1. You could just risk a unit and bring home, 37% ROI on that. That's okay. All right. That would be the spot that I do it. In the total, it moved up, it moved back down. It largely hinges on a lot of Zion on certain situations, as well as the rest of the bigs. So you might want to continue even to wait on that news too, and then play even a different money line, regardless of how it goes. Zion in, I'd still be okay with a Pistons money line that you can get a better price on. Zion out, I'd probably still be okay with a Pistons money line paying a worse price for it. So caught in no man's land on another game here. Drew, these zombie Bulls have been awakened.
Yeah.
They have risen from the dead as they go to Utah, where all the religious people are.
Mm-hmm.
The Jesus Bulls.
Jesus Christ Superstar Bulls.
Are legitimately like hat tip to you for like you recognize zombie Bulls. You were ahead of them being a cover machine, and you've really done well profiting from it.
Yeah, for sure.
I was of the mindset that once I saw them make the trade at the deadline, they were waving a white flag and fade the Bulls as much as possible. And so I have not profited off of it, but I have stayed the fuck away from it because what you recognize and how you spoke to it. And so you've saved me money and made yourself money. So thank you in both regards. But now the Bulls, and we call them the zombie Bulls because they were cover machines over the last few weeks, really since the trade deadline. They've stayed winning games and kind of secured that last play-in spot in the East. Like, it is not going to be the 76ers. It is not going to be the Raptors. It is not going to be the Brooklyn Nets that comes and take the spot. Bulls are going to be in the play-in. And so now you see them actually being willing to win, still willing to play cohesive basketball, not really doing tanking-like stuff because we know what we're getting from the Bulls. They're going to be the 10 seed. And maybe they even climb up the 9 over the Miami Heat and get that home game in the biggest arena in the league and try and sell it out and make a fuck ton of money. The Bulls ownership would love that. So the Bulls are still trying to win. The Jazz, you cannot say the same. Like, the Jazz are outright the most tank you could possibly imagine, fined from the league, immediately playing the guy the next day, but benching him at halftime, whatever. The issue with this game is that the Bulls go from cover darlings to 5.5, 6-point road favorites in Utah, which is a tough place to go and play.
True.
And they're doing that without Giddey, who's been a triple-double machine, without Lonzo. Now, obviously, on the other side, Clarkson, Kessler, Marketing, Sexton, like everybody that really matters, John Collins is out. So the whole fucking starting lineup.
Such bullshit. All of those guys are healthy. Such bullshit.
I'll give John Collins the only one that's actually hurt.
Yes.
But like
he has a real injury. But Sexton has played. Markkanen has played. Clarkson has played. None of these guys have aggravated anything that I've seen. Have you seen any injury stuff with any of them? It's just bullshit. It's driving me nuts. This would be a good team. This would be a team that would be in the play-in had they just played their guys all season. We even said at the beginning of the season when they were winning games, like, oh, they got to start losing. Well, fuck, did they ever learn how to do that? I'm honestly, it's one of those spots where you watch a league and an interpretation of the rules that just doesn't make sense, is not to the spirit of any of these rules, but technically it's fine. So you're going to like this. If this was like a private league and guy, like, you'd just get kicked out at a certain point. You'd just be kicked out of the fucking league if it was a fantasy league of some kind. That's how egregious this bullshit is.
Maybe it's relegation that we're discussing on Friday.
I would love that. Yes.
Maybe it's fucking G League relegation. Get Mac McClung actually in the league. I'm joking. All right. I'm not necessarily joking about relegation. Okay. Bulls are nothing still, despite that being said.
It's also crazy to me that the Bulls are -5.5 against the Jazz and the Detroit Pistons are -7 against the New Orleans Pelicans in kind of the same spot. Only the Pelicans are way more injured than the Jazz are in reality. And the Bulls are way worse, like half as good as the Pistons. What is like this spread is too far, and I will be avoiding it just to clarify my thoughts on the Bulls after my Jazz rant.
And I would say if someone's still forcing a bet and this don't bet it, don't watch it classic of the year.
Yeah.
I would still say Bulls are nothing because when the wave of doubtfuls changes to outs, like maybe it does go to 6 or 6.5, and maybe it's not fully priced in, right? So most of this is very priced in, so you're not going to get a huge wave of movement when we get there. The Memphis Grizzlies are taking on the Sacramento Kings in the fuck you injury report game of the week, where I bet Memphis Grizzlies -2. We now see it at 2.5, but +2.5. Normally you see something that I bet and it's I bet -2, and then I say it's 2.5. It's -2.5, and I'm a half point ahead. Drew, I'm fucking 4.5 points behind because about an hour after I submitted this bet, Ja Morant out. And then not listed on the injury report is Sabonis. After going from soft tissue injury, coming back too soon, another soft tissue injury, coming back way too soon, not even missing a single game, re-aggravating it, everyone going up in flames about how shitty that was handled, talking about how Sabonis might be a guy who requests a trade this offseason and gets himself out of there, and not on the injury report the next game. Like, the communication of what the fuck actually happened with Sabonis is nuts. So it seems like Sabonis was priced as out to not even being listed. Ja Morant was priced as questionable towards in to outright out. I even bet it.
For those of you listening only, we just had like the biggest mutual shrug.
Like, what the fuck do you do? We look like Michael Jordan here.
Yeah, I just hit 6 threes. This is like,
right.
I'm so tired of it, and honestly, it's making one of the best years of my life when it comes to sports betting and just happenings in my life. It is really putting a damper on it, and I'm just like, can we just get to the playoffs? Like, shout out to the 330 of you watching right now, going through this whole slate with us on Monday on a St. Patrick's Day when you could be doing other things. Like, this league right now is fucking atrocious, and I think y'all can see how utterly upset I am right now.
Yep, no idea what happens yet. Still like Memphis in the spot.
I do too.
Even when I bet it and I sent it out, I even wrote a little note next to it saying, playing at 3/4 of a unit, but like this spot, might even come back to it. You see the line move to 2.5. You see it move out to 3. Things looking good. Was going to bet it again. Then all the news comes, and it's like,
I kind of want to bet it now.
Yeah, honestly, I would agree. So the Scottie Pippen Jr. questionable tag here is what I would wait for. If he's in, even if it moves it half a point, you need Scottie Pippen Jr. to be in to still back Memphis, because if you have no Morant and no Pippen, I mean, do I need to hit a bet stamp shot? So we talk about a Desmond Bane triple double, because this is the recipe for it. This is the recipe for it against the Kings in a 237 total, Drew.
Love it.
Nuggets Warriors. This is been a Warrior spot because we have no clue what the injury report for the Denver Nuggets is going to show. They have right now questionable Jokic, Gordon, Murray, Steph Curry, Christian Brown probable, Podziemski out. It's been moving towards Golden State because of the amount of risk associated with the Nuggets. And if you look at the Nuggets schedule, like, they have a crazy, I think it was 14 games in 23 days. I think
they're behind everybody.
I think it was the stat that I read. So they have so many games coming up where it's like, oh, and I think tonight's the front end of a back-to-back. We're just like, we're going to get all the shit that we're annoyed about is going to hit Denver now. So I would like to back Denver in this matchup with Jokic going against the Warriors. The Warriors struggle against bigs that could score at an elite level. We just saw Cat dominate against them in the Knicks cover. I would like Jokic and the Nuggets in the spot, but given all the reporting, there's just no way. So again, there's really not much to say about this game. This is a wait on news spot, but if I can get the Nuggets as 3 or 4 point dogs, if those guys are ruled in and Curry's ruled in, then I would play it later and play Nuggets as dogs.
Can we revisit the same thing we talked about with Indiana? All those guys are in.
Nuggets
total goes up and Nuggets come back, right?
Total definitely goes up, because when all the questionables hit, it was 240.5 and just came down to 236.5.
It went even lower and is already
no fucking shit, guy. All the people, y'all call yourself a sharp betting podcast and are saying the total will go up if Steph Curry and Jokic gets ruled in. Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
But the sharpness here is possibly parlaying it early with the news to get the multiplier to work in your benefit in a plus CLV way, in a major way, where they will be offering you plus money to cash out before the game even fucking tips off. Drew, do you know what the record is this year on parlays?
We are now 3-2, I believe. Or
Two and
sorry,
two and
3-1.
2-1.
2
2,
and
4,
1.
3.
We've
1,
only
2,
had
lost
3.
1.
I thought we did 4.
I've done 3 personally, and I've won 2 of them.
Okay. I just used this concept in the NHL yesterday for the first time all season because it like clicked for me at a certain point. Finally, I was like, oh, I should be fucking doing this in the NHL. And that one paid. So
Can you
kudos.
check on Bet365 again what
It's
the
4 and it is over 236.5 and plus 4.5. So same prices.
and it's what's the odds?
It's plus 264, the odds you need.
Yeah, it's the odds you need.
I'm doing it. I'm putting
Shout
down
out
the third.
Bet365 because they're also a great place to place props because they have low holds. So if they're not
Yep.
really charging, that's zero charge for correlation right there. Plus 264
No, they're
is what you
great
get
for
on a parlay
parlays.
when you go like this.
I also really, really, really love their on money lines early payouts. So, like, if you were going to take that Detroit money line and you have 365, take it there because if Detroit ever gets a 20-point lead, it just cashes immediately. I
Yep.
love it, love it, love it for the NHL because if any team takes a 3-goal lead, it cashes. And I'm pretty sure I watched a 3-goal lead disappear yesterday in the Dallas Stars Winnipeg game, I think is who they played. I can't remember exactly. Anyways, Bet365, one of my favorite books. I know I've heard random stories about problems with them. Never had a problem with them. Have used them
Not me.
absolutely. Like I think they've been my favorite book for the better part of a decade.
Yep. Okay. You could consider that for Nuggets and the over.
I'm taking it. I'm telling you right now, I just took it for a third of a unit to pay 1 unit approximately.
The Toronto Raptors are going against the Phoenix Suns. It is the second night of a back-to-back for both teams. The Suns played the Lakers yesterday and lost. The Raptors played the Portland Trailblazers yesterday and lost. The difference in this spot is Raptors are the road team. I believe the Suns played home yesterday, or was it in LA? Let me look that up. That was in LA, which is a very short trip home, but there is still travel for both spots. Worse travel for the Raptors in this spot. However, the main difference is one of these teams wants to win, the other wants to lose. Like the Suns fucking want to win because they're clinging for play-in spots. They need to go catch the Mavericks. I think they're down 1.5 or 2 games behind the Mavericks right now. Mavericks lose to the 76ers yesterday. Suns have a chance to catch up a game because Mavs 76ers was the first game to tip off. And then you get to the Suns game. They look horrendous against the Lakers. So they really need to win tonight. They really need to string this together. You get Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, Agbaji, Grady Dick, all out or doubtful. Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett questionable. I would expect Barrett maybe goes because his was the personal news. Quickly might be closer to out if he's actually somewhat injured, but we call that a Raptors injury, not a real injury. So definitely Suns are nothing for me because we are going to get the bulk of the Suns players that we need to going. I mean, Grayson Allen's been missing time. He's been upgraded to questionable. Beal's been in and now he's doubtful. So those guys have been kind of flipping places when they play. Booker and Durant both always play on the second night of back-to-backs. I believe you'll see the rest of all the rotation guys, Royce O'Neal, the few bigs that they have, Nick Richards, Plumlee, all those guys. So clear Suns or nothing spot. But Drew, this is one where like I really like Suns money line again would be my favorite angle here. Like this would be money. I'd rather play money line than 8.5 because I know you were like potentially looking at 8.5 in another Raptors cover spot.
I think the Raptors are better as you go deeper when it comes to these two teams and how they match up. So all the minutes where Durant and Booker are not playing and the minutes where the Raptors' younger crowd will be playing, I think will favor the Raptors. I do expect the Raptors to outright lose this one on purpose because I think at this point they kind of have to. Like you said, they're probably out of the play-in entirely now. So it's better if they're losing games. But I also think that because of the personnel they have on that squad deeper into the rotation, those guys will play hard, will play defense, are playing for contracts, and I likely expect them to cover this spread, especially because, like, I want to fade the Suns still. That's how bad this team has looked over the last few weeks. Like, if this is a spot where I would seriously consider playing both angles, where you just grab the Suns money line for the unit, like you said, and also grab the Raptors against the spread for half a unit and bring home a full unit essentially on the game. Because I really expect the Raptors to cover this. And I think the market expects that too. I think this was +9 and is coming
it
down
did
to
get out
eight
to
and a
9.
half.
It's coming back a little bit. Yep.
So
Circa still back at the 9. Offshore just moved it from 9 to 8.5 minus 115 on that. Yeah, so it's gonna hang. This is where the price is going to be. If you're grabbing the 8.5 on the Raptors side, wait and see if you can get either cheap 8.5 because like DraftKings has it at minus 108 on the 8.5 side, so that would be decent. And if you're looking for the Suns, make sure you get the 8.5 minus 110 instead of paying more for it,
or the money line best price wherever.
Yeah, money line. Let me check that really quick.
I
Because
have it
that would
open.
be my preferred angle, but it is yeah, look, it's minus 340 here at FanDuel.
Yeah.
It's minus 400 at Circa.
Yeah.
370 at Bookmaker, 380 at the offshores. So like you are 40 cents better than any number here at FanDuel. I honestly like it. I like the
I
money
do
line.
too. Now FanDuel has come. I think that number you're seeing at FanDuel is because it's come down from 400 with them, whereas the other books were laying the other way.
They
So it's
had it
kind of
up.
just they're doing this as the
They had it
market
up to
writes itself.
420. Yep.
Yeah. Ha! Blaze it.
The Suns be burning that shit up.
Absolutely. What are we down to? Washington?
Washington versus the Blazers. Second night of a back-to-back for Portland after a comeback win against Toronto yesterday. They had Simons doubtful for most of the day yesterday, and then he played, chalked that up to another weird injury reporting situation, and now he's playing second night back-to-back and not even listed on injury report stuff. So I just really don't understand any of this stuff. You do have Jeremy Grant doubtful. Like, oh my, Drew. Historically, I've been amazing at, and not just this season, right? Just like historically, we, like, as long as I've known you and we've been working together in the NBA space, it's been seamless between us, like, have dominated injury reports.
Yeah.
And injury reports isn't something that it's not like CLV where like you're trying to predict market direction and then what's the ending up outcome or whatever. Like, this is more black and white. This is more you either get it right consistently or you're not doing it properly and you're not getting the right info. So after getting it right consistently for so long, I haven't changed the approach, but the results have started to change.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, now every team is fucking lying about shit. And every team is trying to skirt the rules because all of the rules are being whacked down differently. So now all the teams are reacting differently, and what the beat writers are saying and how everything's being reported, it's like none of it actually matters. None of, like, I'm at the point now where I feel like almost none of what I read in injury report matters at all. Because the way it breaks right before half hour before the game is, I literally went 0 for 4 the way that I expected, like Barnes, Sabonis, Jaren Jackson.
And then some of it didn't even matter yesterday, though, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's insane.
And Zion was the other one. Yeah, there was 4 of them, and I was just like, oh, "Are you kidding me?" All right. Anyways, Wizards Blazers Blazers market has been an under market. I think both are priced out now, and I don't want either. Anything to add, Drew? Not a really fun game.
There's a 5.5 available for the spread at Bet365. Shout out my favorite book, and I'm taking that for half a unit. I just expect a Portland Blazers or a Trailblazers cover here against the Wizards. I know the Wizards have been playing well, but Blazers, after the loss, or sorry, I shouldn't say they didn't lose to the Raptors yesterday, but after what
being down
started and
20.
looked like it was going to be a bad game from them, I expect them to come out with a little more gusto to start this one and get in front of the Wizards a little earlier and really ride this one. I would actually even consider potentially laddering this with like an 8.5 and maybe like an 11.5 for smaller, much smaller.
Blazers blowout.
I honestly think so. I know it's not the greatest of schedule spots as well. I think this might be their 3rd and 4. I know they've played a lot of games recently. I don't see how Washington matches up against this team. They just don't have enough.
Yep. The Marcus Smart questionable piece is actually important because
very important.
The Portland scores so much from the perimeter, right? And so much of their offense is generating from Scoot, Simons, and Sharp.
How much have you seen of him? Because I haven't watched enough Wizards games since they've come back to know if he's kind of the Marcus. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Ian, can you?
I've watched a little bit. He actually was shooting well too, which was nice to see because he was dealing with wrist injury stuff.
Yeah,
but he doesn't give a shit on the Wizards. But
no,
also,
and he rightfully
he plays with pride. But yeah, if he's out there, he's way better than the other options. Is what
that's
I'm
true.
getting at.
We're also on a bit of a pool run, right? But I just feel like that's gonna come to a close pretty soon. I'd love to. For the record, though, I would love to see Poole become the Poole that we saw that got him the current contract he has again. I don't want to. I'm not trying to throw shade. I just
remember the Poole versus the Ball brothers highlights that we showed from the high school game. That was really cool.
Oh yeah.
Poole's been doing this stuff since he was young.
I think like if he gets it right, he'll get it right. It's just I hope he finds the right situation and finally sort of gets over Draymond hitting him in the face. Seems like he is, though, so hopefully.
The Spurs are going to Los Angeles to play the Lakers. Second night of a back-to-back for the Lakers after beating up on the Suns yesterday. But the Lakers guys are pretty injured, so we think that they're pretty much going to go. Luka and Jackson Hayes primarily being the guys who have been hurt and starters for LA that have been in and out of the lineup a little bit. They're probably both going to play. Rui and LeBron remain out. Dorian Finney-Smith will start in Rui's absence, which is okay with Luka because those guys played together for years in Dallas. So it's almost like a nice complementary piece to get DFS in the lineup more with Luka. Jackson Hayes has developed a nice chemistry with Luka. They played great yesterday. San Antonio's just no Fox, no Wemby. Like they fucking suck at this point. Got to feel bad for Chris Paul missing the buyout window and the time to join a different team for the playoffs. And then Fox, and they bring in Fox, and they have Wemby. They go to the All-Star break. It's just like, all right, let's see what we could develop in the back half of the season. And now it's just a complete wash of the back half of the season. Stephon Castle emerging as the obvious rookie of the year. He's now like minus 600 in award stuff. This has been a clear over spot. Was released in the WHOP at 222.5, 7 points of movement towards the over. I think biggest bet on the card for us too. Now at 229.5 and -9, it is priced out. Sorry for having low energy at the end of this card, but that's really the way this card feels today.
It is a low energy card. Yeah, we went hard on this over because it was a middle right off the hop with FanDuel at 225.5 was their release, and we saw the numbers climb quickly. Including FanDuel immediately moving that from 225.5 to 226.5. So very clear overspot off the hop. This got all the way to 230.5 and has now come back down a point or so. I am of the opinion that this is likely meaning that people are playing more likely for the Lakers, specifically Luka, and I hope Jackson Hayes to give them that look with the alley-oops, which is one of Luka's bread and butter things for this team, especially without LeBron on it currently, and Rui not being available either to be in that dunker spot and getting those lobs. So I actually think this one hinges more on, obviously, I expect Luka should play. I'm more worried about the Jackson Hayes thing. If he plays, I think this is a definitely an easy Lakers spot. and to cover the spread at home. Lakers are too good defensively, too well coached defensively, in my opinion. We do see this number coming towards the Spurs right now, so I would wait. Obviously, I think I have. What have I put on this? I have Lakers minus 8.5 for 2/3 of a unit.
It opened all the way at Lakers minus 11. Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah, so it's. I think this has way more to do with just
nothing.
Questionable. Yeah, it's got to be Lakers or nothing. I would wait, and I'm actually considering getting off my ticket. Shout out Bet365, letting me cash them out for full price at the same number.
Another thing, yes. Learn the flexibility of these books. FanDuel is the same way, where you get full value cash out. Unlike
if it hasn't moved, if they've moved
you can place it 2 seconds
back
later. Yeah,
then you don't. It's they're sneaky like that, so be aware. At some point, we should make a WHOP guide for all of how to interact with each book and why, and how to favor each book. This is something we'll talk about in the back end. Just a quick aside there.
And if we make that, keep it in the back end too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. We should do that. I also do not think I would post that publicly.
I wouldn't either.
All right,
wait on the Lakers. Hopefully everybody plays. I like the Lakers against the spread, but wait on news. Wow, we made it. Oh, that was a slog.
Here are the 7 WHOP releases on today's card. Wolves minus 3.5 and the under, as that Pascal Siakam news sat there for way too long. Miami and the Knicks under 214 down to 210.5 now. Memphis Grizzlies was the one that I got caught with bad injury news breaking against me. Philadelphia at Houston. We could thank Drew for the text message to me telling me that I should go run and bet the over and send that out. And now is full 3 points higher. And the Lakers and Spurs middle tilted towards the over with 7 points of closing line value. A dominant card on the board for us with current numbers. Hopefully should be a good night. You love to see that. You love to set yourself up in that position. There are a bunch of spots still left on today's card that we reviewed that we think at this point, if you're going to play them, you honestly look to getting the asymmetric risk to go your way and hitting the parlays. Maybe that's Pistons and the under if Zion misses. Maybe that's Nuggets and the over if Jokic and Murray play. Maybe that's what was the other one that we talked about?
I want to say
Pacers. It was Pacers and the over if Halliburton, Turner, and Nesmith all go in. So a bunch of spots. We obviously prefer these as straights, but a few spots today that, given the risk and given what we spoke about with the injury news and the way these things are breaking and the way that they're being reported right now, if you do get them to break your way, it's going to cause kind of a avalanche in line movement and a rapid change in some shifting numbers, in which case having those locked in closing line value spots, if just news goes your way, would be actually good to have with multipliers and make it actually worth it to do it in those situational spots and aiming to get the plus 260s. Drew, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Drew,
are you shot? Let's get a Desmond Bain triple double here. Let's go. Come on.
Are we ready for one shot for BETSTAMP, my friend?
Can you do me a favor, because it's been a weird Monday? Can you try and make one over your shoulder right now?
Oh, the backwards one? Okay.
Yeah. That was pretty close.
All right, we got 2 balls left. Drew, before we do the one shot for BETSTAMP, can I tell you a little story about yesterday?
Absolutely. I love your story. Story time with Fiddle.
Do you know what I was doing before we linked up to talk about odds and a few other business things on the back end yesterday?
Yes, but I don't know.
Yeah, you could say it. What was I doing?
Hanging out with a lady friend.
So I was, on a date, which I will say I've, weaved in a few hints of was on a date here, was on a date here. I will say all dates have been with the same person. Things going well. I will say that. But yesterday we're walking our dogs. We're going on a place where we could go to a farmer's market, get a little food and coffee, take our dogs for a walk, and we're walking this direction. And you know when you're going on a walk the same way I know when I'm going on a walk. We know where the basketball courts are located, right?
Oh, yes.
You know when you're walking somewhere that there's going to be a pickup court walk coming by.
Yep.
So we're taking our dogs that direction, and I'm like, oh, have you seen the basketball court that's back here? It's like a beautiful location for a pickup. I wonder if there's some people playing. So we're walking by. I see two guys, probably like similar age, maybe a little bit younger than me, shooting around. And I'm like over the little ledge that's over there. And I just say, yo, can I just get one shot? Shout out the one shot for BETSTAMP. That's pretty much me yesterday on the date.
Nice.
So I step over the little ledge. They throw me the ball. I'm like behind 3-point line, almost to where like court ends at the corner. So you're almost like at the out of bounds past the 3-point line.
28-footer.
Just swish.
Nice.
First try, drain it. One shot for BETSTAMP. One shot for the baddies. Cash. The guys go, woo, right? I'm like, yup. I'm trying to play this off as cool as humanly possible.
Yeah, just like
right?
like it's
so I turn
nothing.
around. I'm like, light work.
She's
walking like, that was impressive. She goes, that didn't even touch the rim. Like, swish.
Yeah.
She didn't know the terminology for swish. She goes, that didn't even touch the rim. And I was like, she goes, were you nervous? Like we're walking, and she's like, so were you a little nervous when you shot it? And I'm just like, you think there were any nerves on that shot right there? Come on.
Zero nerves.
Then we walk probably like 4 steps further, and I go, all right, I got to be honest. That was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I'm like, I've been trying to play that off. That was fucking
come on.
sweet.
You gotta play it off. You don't say that for like 2 weeks. You let her think you're that cool for 2 weeks, and then the next time she brings it up, yeah, okay, I was trying to be cool.
She has been in this room, and I handed her the ball, and she drills it. First shot.
Nice.
And I'm like, no fucking way. I go, this was during the time where I went like 0-8 on the streams and missed so many in a row.
Yeah.
And she walks in and just bakes it first try. And I'm like, fuck you. Then the next one, I give her another one, makes 2 in a row. So she's been in this room, is 2 for 2, and got the hell out of here. I was like, yeah, that's how you
cash out after the win, right? Just run away with the money.
She's the cash out queen.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we one shot for BETSTAMP? And I will try and do this the same way that I look at BETSTAMP helping me further my relationship game. BETSTAMP helping my game on and off the court. One shot for BETSTAMP.
Oh, I love it.
All right. If I make this shot, I'll send her a clip of this segment. If not, hell no. If I make this shot, taking this ball into that hoop back there, we will share my odds screen, which is the BETSTAMP Pro odds screen, and we will find a long shot to ride together tonight. We will sort it by plus EV long shots and find an angle that we think is good value at plus money. We have over 400 people here in the stream. If you could please like the show, that would be great. If you could please follow us on Twitter, make sure you follow Drew on Twitter too, at Ranting Johnson. I'm going to make this shot. We're going to find something. It might be a Desmond Bane triple-double.
Oh,
yeah.
Money.
Oh, yeah.
Easy buckets. Well, buddy, we got some good ones. Pull her up.
Do we?
Yep. I'm looking at 2 that I like.
Can you lead the charge and tell me what it is that you were looking at? I'll share it, but ooh.
You see that top one, right?
I even like the Dorian Finney-Smith one too.
I do too. I kind of like all of these. Like the Devin Vassell, I could see it, right? Lakers not the greatest of a rebounding team necessarily. Could also just have the ball.
Vassell can even get 10 assists if he's creating.
Right. Yeah. I look at the what happened to the overtime on the Knicks Heat game. I kind of like too.
I mean, yeah.
Right?
I even like Jaren Jackson plus 220 over 1.5 steals.
Can we just get down on the whole board? Can we parlay this whole thing together and make it like the
Imagine that.
craziest fucking log shot of all time?
Nothing else.
No, I don't see anything else. I'm happy with any of those, to be honest with you. I'm happy with all of them, to be honest with you. I think there's clear value on every single one. Yeah, okay.
Suns need to sign Fiddle.
I agree.
Fiddle's jump shot's wet.
Yeah.
Peasy with the most true comment here. Oh, Fiddle got the patties.
Ian.
Love the Randall look. High usage forwards versus Indiana. No Siakam too.
All right, Ian. If he says it, that's what we're going with.
What's the double-double? Plus 340 for double-double also. What?
What is going on?
So that's the move. We're laddering Randall's double-double, triple-double.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do exactly that.
Okay, plus 340. It's plus 295 at Pinnacle, too. I mean, just from reading a sharp book from a rec book perspective, that's nice as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. So Julius Randle, double-double, plus 340 on FanDuel. So, I'm okay with the plus 320 on DraftKings, too. I would skip the numbers that are below plus 300.
Yeah, don't get it on.
And on DraftKings, 45-1, Julius Randle triple-double. Ian's dropping the matchup-specific high usage forwards versus Indiana without Pascal Siakam.
Love it. Love everything about this. Actually, this was an enjoyable show. I really enjoyed venting a bit. And I
you got some shit off your chest?
Got some shit off my chest.
We'll be back tomorrow to break down a 4-game NBA slate. So I'm saying this live now. I will be back tomorrow to break down a 4-game slate. Drew will be taking tomorrow off. We will see him on Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. I will also be breaking down this 10-game slate with Jay Money in an hour on his feed as well. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Thank you to Ian in the back. Thank you for Drew for being here. Thank you to BETSTAMP for helping me on and off the court getting closing line value. I would say my dad jokes when I'm on dates, even referring to getting closing line value on a date is in itself is a dad joke, right? It's like a gambler's dad joke. It's supreme. My closing line value on dates is very high. Some words from Patrick Beverley, as he says, peace out. Y'all subscribe to my podcast while you're asking all these questions.
Y'all subscribe to my podcast while y'all asking all these questions.
Don't forget to subscribe to the pod. And if you're a kid, listen to your parents. Listen to your parents.
Listen to your parents.
Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe.